So I've just managed to pull the battery cover off and the seats out. So there's the original, well not original, but Trojan batteries. I'm probably going to just take these out completely. I'll test them, see if there's any life left in any of them at all. But otherwise these are being removed in preparation for a different kind of battery. As I suspected, there was absolutely no life in the batteries. When I disconnected that yesterday, this little thing came up with 8 volts, but I think that was 8 volts across the whole pack. So I think that I'm going to have to take these out and they're just destined for the scrap. I have all the batteries out of here now. There's a bit of water in the tray, but I think that was from when I disconnected the water hose. So I did realise there was a bit of play in this. So I've tightened up these. I've got some grips, and I tightened up this here. The bearing must have been changed at some point, but it wasn't clamped back in. So now it's a lot firmer. I have undone all the bolts in the dash, but I'm probably going to put that all back together today after giving it a bit of a clean. And well, it's not essential until I'm ready to drive it. So yeah, it's looking like a good car. I've just got to do a bit of tidy up and get some batteries in so that I can drive it to an MOT. So I've just noticed a tiny bit of rust in there. This is on the inside, so I'm not sure if that's a huge problem or not. It must have been leaking at some point, or the damp had gotten in and done something there. So as long as I keep it dry, that might be okay, because that's a very awkward one to get into. I'd have to take the whole dash apart. I don't know how old that is, but it hasn't gotten any worse. So fingers crossed that that's no longer an issue. Everything else seems to be okay. I've brought a wire through here, and that's going to be fixed here for a voltmeter, so that I can make sure that everything's working, and it'll be a lot tidier being on the dash. So that's the next plan. Yeah, so I've just got to put the dash back together, give it a clean, now that everything else is working, and we should be good. This time I've cut a hole out in here. I kind of scratched it with the Stanley knife by accident, but it's not too bad. And I've put the voltmeter beside the dash. That's the only place. There's a hole just behind the dash that doesn't require the back part being bored out. As you can see here, there's a hole right there where that should sit into. Everywhere else there's a flat surface that needs boring into as well, and doing this alone was tricky. So yeah, so that's the battery capacity meter. I'm just going to hook it all up now and get it installed. Right, so making progress. I've got everything all hooked up now on here. Now the one thing I just noticed is that this part doesn't work. There's a little mechanism in there, and the spring must have broken off inside. I'm not sure where that is, but I mean, it's not a big deal in order to have to take the dash apart again. In the summer, if I want air out of there, I'll just have to jam something through there to push that open. But I don't know if I want to pull all this dash apart, because it's taken me the better part of a morning to sort everything out and put it back together. So I think for what it is, I'm just going to leave it. Not a big deal. But yeah, so now I'm just got to put the rest of the dash back together, and that's the front part of the car completely done. So there we go, the dash is all complete. Now some parts weren't cosmetically great. This part was all completely scratched to pieces, so I swapped it with my other steering wheel cover, and this was completely scratched to pieces too, as you can see on here. So I've put the other one on there, and there's the voltage meter in there. I may have to paint that at some point. It's not essential, but there we go. The front dash is complete and everything works. can hear the fan come on for the motor. So there we go. Now all I have to do is to get the batteries installed, get a front number plate because that seemed to be missing, and get it up for an MOT. So stay tuned and we'll see if it passes.